Alpha is really changing the image that people have about the Catholic Church.
It opened my eyes that there was more to being a Christian than just turning up at church on a weekly basis.
It gives you the ability to just explore the Christian faith.
I rejoice and I thank God for arising in the church Alpha course.
The fruit of the course has convinced me that this course has been blessed by God.
Alpha es como una llave para abrir el corazón de la persona a Jesús.
I came across Alpha now almost 15 years ago when I was then living in London. For years, I'd been trying to answer Pope John Paul II's calling for new evangelism. So when I met Alpha, really that was like a lightning, on a very dry bonfire, and I said, well, that's it. Being Christian is not only following Jesus wherever he goes, but it's also obeying his command to go and announce the gospel to the other end of the world. In our case, we just crossed the channel back and came back to France.
Alpha is a way which leads people to Jesus, but not the Jesus we have for many centuries known as an idea, a compound of doctrines, dogmas, but the real, the living Jesus, the risen Jesus.
Pope John the 23rd was saying the parish is like the fountain in the village where everybody can come and drink. And many of our fountains are dry. Churches are closed. Christian communities, Catholic communities are slowly drying up and dying. And I really love in Alpha the fact that we are slowly but quite surely getting all these nice fountains in every village to work again and get anybody to come and pick fresh water for free.
So welcome Alpha if it can bring people to this personal relationship with Jesus.
The Alpha course is a 10-week introduction course to the Christian faith, open to really anybody who is looking for a meaning in his life or her life.
It's a very natural environment because people come as guests, not as students. And they come and they're welcomed usually by friends or family members.
You feel like you can ask a ridiculous question, but it's important to you at the time.
A typical Alpha in our parish starts with food, which is great. People after a long day getting to sit down and have a meal.
Then you've got a short talk about the Christian faith, a number of how and why questions, which are so important for our contemporaries.
Followed by small group discussion. The small group, again, is an essential part of the whole experience because it's in the small group that people begin to freely exchange their ideas.
Alpha is a wonderful method to introduce people to a first knowledge of faith in a way that is very appropriate to modern man.
I sometimes hear questions about, is Alpha compatible with the Catholic faith? And my answer to that is a very resounding yes. And it's more than compatible. It's an initial spark that allows the fullness of faith to come alive.
The name is not Alpha and Omega course, it's Alpha course, which means that Alpha is a beginning, an introduction.
Alpha, in a sense, presents the gospel in a very simple way. It gives people the opportunity to respond to the person of Jesus Christ. And we know that there's much more to the story, but it's a beginner's course. And so that's the thing about the Alpha course, that it can serve that role.
One of the advantages of Alpha course is that it focuses on the kerygma. In the ancient church, there was a clear distinction between the kerygma and the didache, the catechesis. The kerygma was the starting point of faith, and the catechesis had to form the faith, but faith in itself blossoms only by hearing the kerygma.
And we know by experience that trying to give people catechesis who have not come to know Christ in a personal way is like trying to plant seeds in concrete. It doesn't work.
Alpha es un curso de 15 lecciones que ayudan a transmitir el núcleo básico de la fe cristiana.
The priest has got a very important role in Alpha. Doesn't mean that he needs to be here at every evening. Quite the contrary. The methodology allows a large team to run without involving him too much or wasting his time.
He's got to be there to welcome the guests and to support the team. Personally, I find it very enriching to be part of the team, and I love seeing up front and close what God is doing through the Alpha course.
It's like a ripple effect. It's like when you throw a stone into a pond, the circles start to move outwards, and the more we do Alpha, the more people who attend then become the leaders, and it seems to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So the impact has been huge on our parish.
En las parroquias donde se está aplicando Alpha, está convirtiéndose la comunidad en una fuente irradiadora de vida de Cristo, en una fuente transformadora de las personas, de la comunidad, de las familias.
Alpha has its role to play in this context of new evangelization. A very senior French archbishop was telling me recently, it's amazing, each time I go to one of those parishes that give Alpha, it reminds me of the flavor of the first communities that one finds in the Acts of the Apostles. And although he's a very senior man, he was telling me, you know, Mark, that's why I decided to give my life to Christ in priesthood and now as a bishop, is to see this kind of community, this kind of sparkle that we were saying at the very beginning of the church. I'm seeing in amazement at the beginning of the 21st century that this is happening again and again and again in very ordinary places with very ordinary people.
That Mass on a Sunday now feels like a community as opposed to a group of strangers turned up that know all the same words and know all the songs. Now it seems like a community, it's a family affair. And that's, I believe, as a result of Alpha.
Alpha seems to be very, very effective in leading people back with a new consciousness about the faith. But not just this is not just an intellectual learning more about Jesus. It's changing life.
I was on the edge of my seat, wanting more, and finding when the course completed that day that it just wasn't enough, and I knew I had to come back.
So it just touched the very core of everything that I needed to know. It was amazing.
About 10 to 12 years ago, my mum went on the Alpha course, and that's when I kind of first heard about it. I've seen the difference it's made to her life, and I've seen the difference it's made to my family life. So I always knew that I kind of wanted to go on it and experience it for myself.
Having done Alpha, it led on to me making a commitment, and I became Catholic. It wasn't my intention, and even having done Alpha, it still wasn't my intention, but Christ got a hold of me.
Prior to the Alpha course, I wasn't a very nice person to know. I was a football hooligan. I used to be in the military. I'd had a lot of problems when I was a child from physical abuse. So the majority of my life, even when I decided to get out of home, was violence. Everything boiled down to violence.
My life before was very, very normal. I'm a mummy. I worked for a large organisation. Finding life a bit samey, really, a bit boring.
You know, I've been brought up as a Catholic all my life, and I've been to church pretty much throughout my life. I thought I was living as a Catholic, but I wasn't really. I didn't really kind of get it.
By booking myself on the Alpha course, by week 4, I knew that I was a completely different person.
It just woke me up to the realisation that God is real.
I suddenly realised that God wasn't this kind of untouchable thing that, you know, you just read about. He's someone you can have a constant, you can just communicate with him and he'll respond to you.
We're now actually only practising Catholics, we're part of a Christian community, and, you know, your money can't buy that, you know, that's just something, you know, I thank God every day that I've got that.
Because of my background, people who knew me from old are now asking the question, how can he be different than what he was? I need to know more. And that's when, if they do ask me, that's when I just say, come and see.
Quite simply, what really excites me about Alpha is the impact that it has in people's lives.
And it's just a really kind of like safe environment where you can ask what you want, say what you want.
Alpha is for anybody, you know, literally anybody. If they even had just one question about their faith.
Alpha tiene un gran potencial, porque el poderlo realizar en el contexto del trabajo, de la cárcel, del ámbito universitario o del ámbito donde las personas se mueven en su vida ordinaria es un potencial muy grande.
Alpha has changed my life, has changed my ministry, has changed how I experience my priesthood.
Anytime I hear about Alpha, I don't know why, but my heart leaps.
And until I find something better, I'm going with Alpha.